Hello Clash fans, Trample Damage coming at you today with a Skelly Donut tutorial. This incredibly cool opening for an attack that can honestly work from Town Hall 11 up is where you will use a Rage spell, 2 Skeleton spells, and 3 Invisibility spells to take out the enemy clan castle and presumably at least one other high value target. Now that might be a Scatter Shot or an Eagle Artillery or an Inferno Tower, but we'll really get into that. If you want to see how to do that, what we're going to show you in this video is how we can use these really cool base layouts that I designed to help you practice against the Skelly Donut, or to practice the Skelly Donut. And it's something that takes a lot of finesse, a lot of practice, and the best way to do that is to actually have a controlled environment in which to practice this. So we're going to wind up showing you how to do this. We'll link the bases down below. Of course, if you find value in the video, share this with your clanmates and, subscribe. If you're really excited, hit the subscribe button 3 times because it will subscribe you and then unsubscribe you, but then subscribe you again. So we're going to start out by just talking about the way that this attack normally works is you start with a Rage spell followed by an Invisibility spell, which is going to basically set up an area where any troops that you deploy there, in this case skeletons from the Skeleton spell, will be not only invisible to the enemy defenses, but it will also be very high damage dealing because of the Rage spell. Now we're going to show you here is the clan castle. You can see we place the invisibility spell right on top of that clan castle, and you can see that faint ring from where it's still the perimeter of that spell. If you were to have placed the invisibility spell anywhere inside that circle, it would have inadvertently turned the clan castle invisible as well, which is not what we want to do. Now, if you were to look at the Scatter Shot, we place the circle, if we were to place the invisibility spell anywhere inside either of those circles, we would inadvertently turn one or the other of those buildings invisible. So what you can see here is this wall piece is actually marking a safe place that is 3.5 tiles away from both the clan castle and the Scatter Shot, where you'd be able to drop the Rage spell and your invisibility spell, then placing the skeleton spells where they would be able to actually take those buildings down. Now, I know it kind of looks a little bit like we're playing, see, there we go. We have the skeleton spell placed directly on that wall piece, and we have neither of these 2 buildings invisible. And if we had placed skeleton spells right on the corners of these, the skeletons would have been able to spawn and stayed invisible to the enemy defenses and been able to accomplish their objective. Now that's for buildings that are they have 3 empty spaces between them. If we were to place it directly in the middle of them, obviously both would turn invisible. If we place it too far over here, of course neither of those buildings would be invisible, but your skeletons would also have no coverage. So this basic setup on this very simple layout shows you how you would place skeleton spells, invisibility spells, and rage spells for buildings that are 3 spaces in between them, 4 spaces in between them where you would place it right here, 5 spaces in between them where you'd place it here, and 6 spaces in between. So we're just going to show you what some of these other ones look like. If we wanted to get that Expo and that clan castle, you see if we place the invisibility spell right in between these 2 wall pieces, we would be able to make the area in between them invisible, safe coverage for the skeletons without making either of those buildings inadvertently invisible. Same thing here, you see we are trying to place on this wall piece in order to make the area in front of the Expo and the clan castle. And this is one, it looks like the clan castle should have turned invisible, but it's the very dead center of the floor of this building that we are looking for, which is this spot right here. You can see the middle of the clan castle on this side, and the intersection is right there on the ground. That's where we're worried about. If you make the middle of the building invisible, then the whole building becomes invisible. You're allowed to touch the edge, which is great because it gives some coverage for those skeletons. The last example here on the Scatter Shot, we've got 4 spaces in between the clan castle and the Scatter Shot, and you can see if we placed it right in between these, you would be able to keep your skeletons invisible. And we would do so without making either the clan castle nor the Scatter Shot invisible. So what we're going to do is, I paused it, you can see, I dropped it right here, and it was just barely off from this location here, and we inadvertently turn the clan castle invisible. So those are some of the things that we need to avoid doing. We'll go ahead and show you an example here of actually deploying the Skelly Donut, and in this case I think we took the Expo is where we're going after. So we're going to wind up deploying the Rage spell first, and then the first invisibility spell. Now, a max invisibility spell has a 4.5 second duration, and oh no, we're doing something up here, aren't we? We are. Let me restart that one. I forgot that I started up here. So this base layout also has a good location up here, showing that if you wanted to get a building like the Eagle Artillery here and the Expo here, you would place, we placed a rage spell directly in the center of that wall block, followed by an invisibility spell, and then 2 skeleton spells. And those skeleton spells, I put them inside of here, and then they run over to the building. If you place them, now if there are walls here, you have to be very tricky and careful, because you'd have to place them on the other side of the wall, yet not too far that the skeletons don't start spawning too far away to get targeted by enemy defenses. Now, the skeleton spell at the max Town Hall 14, the invisibility spell, sorry, at the Town Hall 14 max slot lasts for 4.5 seconds, but it takes a half a second for the spell to drop. So when you place the spell, you sort of need to mentally count 4 and then place it again, which you'll wind up seeing we can do here, which now this time we're actually going to deploy it where I fully intended, which I believe is, there we go. So we got the rage spell directly in between the two, and then we have an invisibility spell. Now, you see there are 24 seconds left in this replay. We've got 2 skeleton spells. By the time there are 20 seconds left, we want to be able to have that invisibility spell dropping. And then again, by the time we hit 16 seconds left, we would want to have that last invisibility spell dropping so that the skeletons can have complete and continuous coverage for a full 12 seconds while destroying those buildings. And then, of course, if they happen to get some added value from there, that is just all the better. Now, some of the things that can complicate a Skelly Donut. In this case here, we have an Archer Queen, and the Archer Queen is very close when I started to deploy this invisibility spell and the rage spell, and because she's so close, she steps in and turns invisible. But she knows something is going on there. You can see the question mark above her head, but because she's inside the invisibility spell, the skeletons do not notice her. They finish taking out the clan castle and then run past her to get her altar because she happened to be inside of that invisibility spell. Now, you have to be very, very careful with heroes, because sometimes instead what you'll wind up with is a situation where the Archer Queen is not necessarily covered by the invisibility spell, and here she has yet to sense anything exactly. Maybe one skeleton stepped out and came back in, but you can see she's got the question mark above her head. And then these skeletons over here, you see that they broke. Suddenly they run away from the scatter shot because she's close enough, and they prioritize the enemy troop. So they run over to help try and get the Archer Queen. She then steps into the invisibility spell, and she's kind of invisible, and the skeletons manage to take down the clan castle, but they do not get the scatter shot. So one of the things you have to be really careful about when making this opening for an attack is enemy heroes. Because right here, for example, if we were to try and do a Skelly Donut on my clan castle for this base layout, you've got the Royal Champion on this side, the Barbarian King over here, the Archer Queen over here. It would be very difficult to place a Skelly Donut around here without potentially attracting the heroes, which is, of course, not a good thing. Here we have another example of a situation you can run into, which is with builder huts. Builder huts can wildly complicate this because they start healing the clan castle or the other building as your skeletons are trying to destroy it. Now here, we happen to get perfect placement, and you can see it's a war between the builders and the skeletons, but then all those other skeletons break, they come over to the clan castle, and they're able to take it down, but only because the ones that were attacking the expo managed to come and help get the clan castle. If they had walls in the way, they would not necessarily have been able to do that. Oh, I have a note for myself. Skip that one. I didn't actually. Let me go to this one here. If we were to do a location where there are potentially other buildings, right? We're relying on the one skeleton spell that's coming after this clan castle to take everything out. Then what could happen is, now the scattershot has fewer hit points than the clan castle, and as these skeletons wind up, again, 4 seconds in between those invisibilities, you have to practice the placement. They get the scattershot down, but instead of running to help with the clan castle, they run to help take on these builder huts, and eventually we fail to get the clan castle down because, oh no, we did get it down, but we cut it really, really close. I thought that one actually failed. You have to be very careful when assessing builder huts in the neighborhood. I think I had shared one example, was this one here, yeah. So this one here is an example where we're going to try and take the clan castle here along with the scattershot, and there are 2 builder huts that are in to try and help this clan castle. So we go with perfect placement on the rage, perfect placement on the invisibility, and the skeleton spell. Barely any of the skeletons get caught by the Inferno Tower or the Expo, but because of those 2 builder huts that are in there helping out to heal the clan castle, we do not get enough damage, and though it comes very close, eventually we run out. So in these situations, what you're going to wind up wanting to do is either bring an earthquake spell to help deal, the 29% damage to the clan castle that the earthquake spells deal, or you'll want to bring another invisibility spell to give those skeletons more time to actually complete the assault. So we have this one. Okay, there's one other base layout that I'm going to wind up sharing down below, linked in the comments, which is this one here. We have the clan castle, and it is surrounded by, this ring is roughly where you would see the invisibility spell perimeter go to, and then there are a bunch of other defenses just kind of spaced out to just, replicate how building placements might be. If you have a clan castle next to a scatter shot in this position, like pretend the mortar is the clan castle and the cannon is a scatter shot, you would figure you could practice on this layout exactly where you need to place them. You'd go, okay, well, it's 1, 2, 3 tiles away from the cannon here, 1, 2, 3 tiles away from the mortar, so you'd probably be placing right about right here where the E is at on replay ends, on the E for the word ends. That's about where you would place the skeleton spell, the invisibility spell, in order to get those 2 buildings. If you wanted to try and pick up buildings like, this Inferno Tower here along with this Expo, and that's about how far apart they were, you could just count. 1, 2, 3 here, but that's too close, so it's going to be right where the in is at on replay ends in. And you'd be able to practice using this base prior to going in to make your attack. And perhaps it feels like cheating, but it's not. It's just lots and lots of practice to get repetition in. Now, in this particular attack here, we had 2 sets of Skelly Donuts, and we showed an example here of how to take out these 2 buildings that are just barely touching. These 2 cannons are touching on the corner. We would need to place the rage spell and the invisibility here, along with the skeleton spells, and presto, we got the cannons down. The second one is to take out this Inferno Tower, and it's you almost feel like the entire Inferno Tower is covered by this invisibility spell, but it is not. You can see it's just barely cutting through here, but the very center of that 2x2 base on the Inferno Tower is not covered by the invisibility, so the skeleton spells are able to take it out. We did get 1 stray skeleton that ran down toward to get this wizard tower, which of course is another risk that you end up facing when making the Skelly Donut attack. Now, what we're not going to show here, but we can show in a future video, is the belly donut, where we wind up using a bat spell and a skeleton spell in order to take down, skeleton spell for the clan castle and a bat spell to take whatever the targeted defense we're going for is. Very skilled attackers can actually do 3 buildings inside of that Skelly Donut, where maybe you'll do a skeleton spell for the clan castle, a bat spell for, you could actually do that here. I think 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you could do it. You'd be cutting it close, but you could actually get this scatter shot, the hero piece aside, because the heroes could potentially pull the skeletons off the clan castle, but you could use a bat spell for each of these scatter shots and a skeleton spell for this clan castle, and manage to take down all 3 of those buildings. And because you're already using the rage and 3 invisibilities, all it would take is 1 additional spell slot to pick up an extra high value defensive target. So we will go ahead and share all of these cool layouts. There's the lots of different buildings layout. There is the builders near the clan castle layout. There is the hero near the clan castle layout, and the very simple basic layout to practice against, where your building is a straight shot direct line away from the clan castle. We'll link all those bases down below. In the meantime, make sure to check out any of my other social media stuff that's in the bar. I think that I have jammed in here over on the side. Make sure to share it with your clanmates. Check out all my content on all my fun social media stuff. Comment down below. Make sure you're subscribed. In the meantime, I'm saying I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day.